Welcome to Goshen High School Dollars for Scholars application process. This is Patty Morgan with the Dollars for Scholars Selection Committee. The purpose of this presentation is to guide you through the online application process and help you to qualify for one of more than 60 scholarships that will be awarded next spring. These scholarships are not limited to those individuals who are attending college or universities, but also there are several scholarships for technical and trade schools. So let's get started. Using any web browser, you should enter goshenhs.dollarsforscholars.org. The first screen that you will see is the home page for the Goshen chapter of Dollars for Scholars. Contact information for Milt Thomas, who is president of the Dollars for Scholars for Goshen, is listed at the bottom of the screen. You're welcome to review any of the tabs across the top. The one that is highlighted, Students and Parents, is the one we'll select now. And this is somewhat redundant, but you need to click to log in. Since you do not yet have a profile, please click on the area that reads, "Don't have an account yet? Create one here." The first thing Dollars for Scholars would like to know about you is what high school you are attending. So next to high school name, start typing Goshen. The bottom of the screen will be populated with various high school names. When you see Goshen High School, Goshen, Indiana, click Choose this school. This is where it begins. The screen is very large on the website, so I have split it into two slides. Please note the highlighted paragraph under the blue bar that states that you must complete all the double starred items in order to submit the form, and you must complete all of the single starred items to move your progress towards 100% completion. The first item or field is your legal last name. So you type that in and tab forward, and you can continue to tab through the remainder of this portion of the screen. This is the lower portion of the previous screen. Again, note the double starred items. It's important to give them a valid email address and how you prefer to be contacted. At the very bottom is an agreement statement. I encourage you to read through that, and when you're finished, check the very tiny box next to the agreement. You will receive this nice thank you from Dollars for Scholars, encouraging you to check your email, spam, junk folders, etc. in a few minutes for your new logon information. This will include the email that you provided in the previous page, but also a temporary password. I suggest that you have a pen or pencil and a piece of paper handy because the temporary password can be up to 20 characters long. And you may want to stop this slide presentation until you get that information. Welcome back. Now you have your student login information. So go ahead and enter your email address and the temporary password you were given. Then click Login. First thing that will happen is that you will be prompted to enter a new password. As far as I know, there aren't any restrictions or requirements for the password, but try to make it something that you will remember because we do not have access to that information. So type in your new password and then confirm it and hit Save Password. Sometimes the website screens seem redundant, but Dollars for Scholars wants to make sure that it has accurate information. So review the fields that you have completed and then click Save and Continue. Now that you've entered the basic information about yourself, Let's start to work on your profile. So click Work on Profile. In the screen, you see your dashboard on the left-hand side under My Information. You have completed the basic info and now have moved on to additional info. In the center of the screen, under Demographics, the first four fields must be completed. You need to enter your birth date. However, under Sex, Ethnicity, and Race, you can click Prefer not to answer. Then tab through the remaining fields and enter the information that is appropriate. Keep in mind that although there is a single star, that information is needed in order for the application to be complete. The dashboard has now moved forward to schools. Dollars for Scholars would like to know your current grade level. I'm guessing that for most of you, you will select from the drop-down menu, Senior and High School. You can move forward to the year graduating, again, a drop-down menu, and select 2020, and then indicate that it's from Goshen High School. The college information at the bottom I have split into multiple screens. Indicated here are two choices of college, one being IUPUI Indianapolis and then the IUPU Fort Wayne. But what happens if we click the Select button? When you click Select, you will see this screen. Dollars for Scholars has a database of over 17,000 different colleges and universities. In order to expedite your search process, you can type the name of your college, university, or trade school next to institution name, and then you will see a list of colleges that begin with those characters. In this case, then we are going to choose IUPUI Indianapolis and close the screen. Once you have selected the college or trade school on the previous screen, you will be returned to the original screen that lists the college, and you are prompted for additional information. Several drop-down menus help you with this, beginning with what type of post-secondary education are those two schools, therefore your colleges, and then indicate what year you hope to graduate. And then you get to go into the selection process for your majors. In this case, we're choosing advertising and general business, hoping to acquire a bachelor's degree, will be enrolled full-time, living on campus. I have applied, and the date that school starts, if you know it. And at some point, once you've been accepted, you will have a college student ID, and that is very helpful when scholarships are awarded. Once you've completed this information, click Save and Continue. I hope by now that you are getting a feel for how the DFS website operates. We have now moved on to GPA. If you do not have that information readily available, now is a good time to stop and take a break. Welcome back. Hopefully you've been able to obtain your grade point averages over your high school career. But don't be concerned. If you don't have that information right now, you can save and continue and come back to it another time. Goshen does rank students, so the answer to the first question is yes. And then enter your class rank and the class size. If you don't have that information readily available, I'm sure your counselor will be able to provide it for you. Then click Save and Continue. Time to enter those SAT scores if you have any. Select Add Another Test and follow the screen prompts. Here's a sample of what Dollars for Scholars is looking for. have a drop-down menu for the test name. You can enter the score and then the date that you took the test. You can either save and add another test or submit just this one. This screen shows that I did add the test and submit another test. So my SAT evidence-based reading and writing has been recorded, and now I'm entering my SAT scores for math. And there you have a screenshot of both SAT scores having been entered. You can view them, you can delete them, you can add another test, or if you need to edit, you can make changes. If you click Save and Continue, you will be prompted that you have entered all of your test scores. And you enter yes or no, and then click Submit. The dashboard has moved on to Activities. In the top portion of your screen, the arrow points to Enter Activities Information. The bottom portion of the screen asks for you to specify the activity name, the type, how long you were involved, and the number of hours, and a brief description. You can save and add another activity or submit just this one. The next category on the dashboard is Awards. It functions the same as adding test scores or adding activities. You would select Add an Award, type in the award name, whether it was financial or other, and the date that it was awarded. There are no limits as to the number of awards that you can enter into this category. You either select I have another award to enter or click Submit. If you are working or have worked, here is the opportunity to enter that information. You would either click Enter Employment Information or I don't have any employment. On this page, you have the capability of entering additional documentation, such as another letter of reference or a recommendation, or perhaps you took a night class and you'd like to include that transcript. If that's the case, you would click Enter Document Information and follow the screen prompts. Otherwise, click I don't have any documents and save and continue. New for the 2020 scholarship process is the age classification. Prior to this year, anyone under the age of 18 had to have parental consent in order to go through the application process. Dollars for Scholars has lowered that age to 16. If you would like to include your parental information, you would enter their first name, last name, phone number, and an email address, although you can choose not to include any parental information. And this is the confirmation screen of what you selected in the previous slide. We would click Save and Continue. Goshen High School Dollars for Scholars does use financial information for their need-based scholarships, and most of the scholarships are based on merit and need. Work with your parent or guardian in order to obtain your FAFSA and EFC information and determine whether or not you are eligible for a Pell Grant. When you have entered this information, you can click Save and Continue. I encourage you to enter financial information. The Dollars for Scholars Selection Committee does not do interviews. So the only way that we learn about you, other than your transcript, GPA, and your activities, is through this page, Goals and Aspirations, and the next page, Unusual Circumstances. It is critical that you complete both of these pages and save and continue. Again, I emphasize that completing this page, even if you have no unusual circumstances, is critical for the application process. Another requirement in order for your application to be complete is a current transcript. You would get the transcript from your high school counselor. See the arrow pointing to Add School Official Information. Be careful with the email addresses. Many times they are misspelled and the counselor never receives the request. It is your responsibility to make sure that you have the correct email address. For example, Jeremy McLaughlin is jmclaughlin@goshenschools.org. And be patient with the counselors. Many times they like to wait until the second semester in order to give you the most current information. This page shows you a fictitious transcript request to Counselor May Miller. That's what the page would look like. Save and continue. Another requirement for a completed application is a reference. The arrow is pointing to Add Reference Information. Once you click it, it will advance to the next screen. As you can see, I'm asking Minnie Mouse for a recommendation. She even has an AOL email. And again, I caution you to make sure that you have the correct email address for your reference. I consider her to be a mentor, although there are other options in the drop-down list, and we encourage you to use someone other than a relative. When you are finished, click Save and Request Recommendation. This screen is a confirmation that your reference has been requested. Obtaining a reference can be the most difficult part of the application process. Emails are sent, but the recipients don't always see them. They end up in their junk mail. They read them and forget. And so it is your responsibility to follow up with them and ask if they received your email. There's the button on the screen that says Send a Reminder Email. Once you're comfortable with this information, you can click Save, and let's look for some scholarships. Once you start the search for scholarships, a screen similar to this will appear, although it will not have the yes and no answers on the right. As you look through the questions, you may see some redundancy, but each sponsor of a scholarship has a certain way they'd like to ask the question. So please respond yes or no accordingly, and then submit. Once you have verified your eligibility for all scholarships, the screen will be populated as seen here with the word Apply next to each scholarship for which you are eligible. You can apply for 1, 4, 10, or none. If you would like to take a simple approach, you can click the highlighted sentence at the top of the screen and apply for all. The key is to make sure that you do apply. Take the time to read this screen. Once you enter your electronic signature, you are verifying that to the best of your knowledge, you have entered correct information. You can always go back and change things as needed, but you're getting close to the end. Once you've typed in your signature as you've entered it on the basic information, click Submit. The screen details the scholarships for which you applied and the closing date. In addition, you will receive an email confirming your application for a particular scholarship. Another confirmation that your applications have been submitted for those scholarships with custom eligibility requirements. This last screen can be confusing. It states that the profile is 100% complete, and from DFS standpoint, it is. However, keep in mind that the Dollars for Scholars Goshen Selection Committee requires that you have a transcript, a reference, and the 2 essays. Finally, if you have any questions that cannot be answered by a school administrator, counselor, please feel free to email me, Patty Morgan, at pdmorgan2011@gmail.com. The application deadline is Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020 at 5 p.m. Thank you.